We good?
Just about. Hang on.
Okay.
Okay. Well, hello, folks. Welcome to. Some reason, anyways, we're not coming in here. Hi, Andarchy. Uh, One last thing I gotta switch over, I guess. Here we go. There we are. Okay. Hi, guys. Welcome to Tales of Astaraka. This is Zeckthar and Yuksen. Yuksen, could you please move your microphone away from your computer? We're getting the warbling sounds.
Well, how's this?
Much better. All right. Hello, folks. Let me just make sure that we are up and running here. All right. Got everything set up here. Yeah, so we were so busy doing the Bilko's Brigade and trying to get that all squared up. I completely forgot, Yuksen, that we've been doing this for 2 years.
Wow.
So, since we have been doing this for 2 years, I got a few questions for you, anyways. First off, I want to thank everybody who has actually been with us for most of the time, anyways. The main three that I can think of is obviously Hermes Skirty, Sir Bender Byton, and Darky, who just
Yeah.
left. But hopefully he will be back. But yeah, mainly you three guys. Anyways, you've stuck around for quite some time. We've had other people kind of come and go, but you guys have been around for like pretty much almost since the beginning. I think all of you guys kind of roughly started anyways when we had about 500 subscribers. So I think we were right around, I want to say Ultramarines when we got about that point. And we of course anyways are going to be doing our yearly poll on the Primarchs. And this one's going to be kind of interesting because it's going to be who do we think is the most influential Primarch? Not like the best duelist, the best, or the people that we like the most. It's simply, anyways, who do we think is the most influential in the history of the Imperium of Man? Before we get to that point, Yuksen, what has been your all-time favorite month that we've done a podcast on, or 2 month special?
Um, Probably it would be the orcs.
The orcs?
Yeah.
Is that
I
just because?
also liked the Alpha Legion one, but that was more of the because of how enigmatic the entire chapter is.
Because we had to
Uh,
dig through it, and yeah. I yeah. Personally, anyways, I mean, my favorite was probably the 2 month long thing we did on the Horus Heresy, but that was because I mean that is it was also a really big subject that we had we had plenty of information on, so it wasn't too hard. We didn't have to dig too terribly hard, anyways, to find anything on that. But yeah, the Horus Heresy was pretty fun to do. Um, yeah, orcs were entertaining. The problem I have with orcs is that I mean, they're jokey. I mean, it's, I mean, they're designed that way though.
yeah.
Ironically, anyways, over this last year, I think this last year, did we cover any Xen? No, at the very beginning of the year, we covered the Tau. Um,
Yeah.
Last year, I guess. But other than that, we haven't covered any Xenos because we came to the conclusion after we went through our first year that if we did that, we would run out of Xenos about halfway through our second year. But for
Yeah.
those, anyways, wondering, don't worry, we will actually be talking some Xenos here in the upcoming months. I believe, anyways, this year we have set up, we're going to be talking about the Eldar. Not the Eldari, the Eldar. Like all of them. So, and that's going to be kind of a 2 month event. I think those are the only Xenos, though, that we're going to be running into this year. Well, we're kind of discussing whether or not we're going to talk about the Tyranids or not, but
Yeah.
it should be fairly fun. Um, It was also pretty cool. Anyways, this last Monday we were able to do Bilko's Brigade. Sorry, by the way, for people. Anyways, we will be dropping the video of that at the end of this live stream. Sorry to you folks, anyways, that listened to the live stream. The audio was pretty terrible. We were able to fix quite a bit of it, but we still have some echoes and we have some redlining in the video. But I've been talking to our producer, aka Sacrona. He's figured out a way that we could probably fix that for next time. So next time the audio should be significantly better. I will also be dropping here in the next couple days. I will do an edited version of even that, anyways. That is going to be going on our podcast. So, unfortunately, anyways, for those that want to watch it on the podcast or listen to it on the podcast, you can. It's just going to be cut down significantly more. So a lot of the table talk will probably be cut out. It'll be just mainly more of just the story in and of itself. So just for those that wanted to know, anyways, what was going on there. So your favorite, anyways, was the orcs. Which was your least favorite people to talk about? Probably got to be disappointed that we didn't do this next month. It's like the word parasite.
One of my least favorite, one of them would probably be the Votan.
Really?
Not so much the faction itself, it's just the fact that there's so little lore on them. Is like, okay, what can we actually do with this? Well, characters? Well, we really don't have any. We have one.
Oh, it was because there was just so little information on them.
Yeah, there's just so little information on them.
Quite frankly, the one that I really didn't like was, well, okay, probably the least favorite guys I like looking up, anyways, is the Inquisition. But I knew, anyways, going into that, anyways, I wasn't going to like them very much. But honestly, the other thing that, quite frankly, the one that was the most frustrating to look into was probably the Astra Militarum. Just simply, anyways, how backwards and poorly strategized everything is in the Imperium, or at least the Astra Militarum, and how, I mean, if you really want to know, anyways, how bad or how far the Imperium has fallen, just do some research in the Astra Militarum. The way that they do things is so backwards. It's just, it's ridiculous. But, quite frankly, anyways, that was the most frustrating one to do. Although, I mean, don't get me wrong, there were some fun guys to talk about, especially, you know, like we talked about Cyphus Cain and Gaunt, and there's some cool stuff that we actually looked into. So in the upcoming year, anyways, what's the one that you're looking most forward to?
I'm really looking forward to the Grey Knights once we get to them, which I believe we are getting to this year.
So yeah, spoiler alert.
We will keep going.
Be getting the Grey Knights this year.
It's like, we should do it this year. When? Well, we're coming to. Oh wait, we're gonna do Imperial Fist instead.
Yeah. We were actually originally going to be doing them last year, because originally the thought process was that after we did the Inquisition, we were going to do all three of the military. What do they call them? Aspirants.
Militants are
the militants. Yeah. And we ended up getting two of them done. We did the Sisters of Battle, and then we also did the Death Watch. The Death Watch was actually pretty cool too. But after that, anyways, we came up with the idea of like, well, let's ask what other people want us to do, and we just made a list of, you know, 4 random Space Marine units, and each time, anyways, the Grey Knights didn't get picked.
I think what actually came next was the Imperial Fist, I think. And then we did right after that the Iron Warriors.
Was it that, or was it vice versa? I know we did them back to back. I just don't remember which one was which.
No. I want to say it's Imperial Fist and Iron Warriors. But I may be wrong on that.
Okay. Well, regardless.
Either way, they were back to back.
Right. So, but without further ado, anyways, let's just go ahead and get into this real quick. So, like I said, this time around, anyways, we will be talking about the most influential Primarchs. Now, this doesn't mean, anyways, that they're the best fighter, or they're, you know, our favorite or anything like that. It's just which one has affected which of these guys have affected the Imperium the most. And I figure we'll start down at the bottom and we'll work our way up like we normally do. And I think you're going to agree with me on this one, Yuksen. My first pick, anyways, for the bottom would have to be Ferrus Manus, right?
Yeah, probably. You can actually pull up the chart.
It is up.
I'm not seeing it. Hold on a sec.
Yeah.
Okay,
We're good.
then I can see it.
Okay, so yeah, I would say Ferrus Manus. He just never could get ahead. He just, quite frankly, anyways, he dies so early in the Horus Heresy. I mean, the only thing that he really does is that he has the huge guffaw at the drop site massacre. He lets his frustrations get ahead of him. But yeah, I would put him in there. Who would you? Who else would you put in the D category?
Um, influence wise, Ingron didn't really have much influence. He was just, yeah.
Okay. Yep, we'll go ahead and put Angron in there.
His influence was, there you go. Have at it.
Well, yeah. I mean, he was he's yeah. It, well, it's not just that. It's not just in the Horus Heresy. It's also. I mean, the only reason why Ferrus Manus is just the Horus
in
Heresy
general.
because he didn't make it that far. I mean, in the 42nd millennium, he's causing quite a bit of a stir, right?
Yeah, but necessarily influence so much as just he's doing exactly what he did beforehand, which is just attack, 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 attack. Which isn't much of an influential character, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, okay. We'll leave him down there, anyways. We gotta put one more in there. Um, I would say probably Mortarion. Well,
Yeah.
the 42nd millennium, he started the Plague Wars and almost took out McCrag. Um,
Where would you put Fulgrim?
I was gonna say it's either him or Fulgrim. I'm thinking Fulgrim did kill Ferrus Manus. um, honestly,
But how
Fulgrim I
much?
figured would either go in D or C.
Okay.
Well, same with Mortarion. So let's go ahead and put Mortarion in D, and then we'll start with C anyways with Fulgrim.
Okay.
Because both of those guys really didn't do a whole lot, in my opinion. Let's see, who else can we put in there? Vulcan?
Who's the one that's right next to Kurz?
Here? That's Lorgar. You
Oh.
may hate Lorgar, but he's definitely not in the bottom tier on this one.
No. I was just wondering who it was.
So yeah, on the bottom, anyways, if we start with Corvax, we have Lorgar, then we have Alfarius, Horus, the Khan, Rogel Dorn, the Nightmare, Conrad Kurz, the Lion. We have Magnus the Red, Perturabo, Gilman, Lehman Russ, Sanguinius, and then Vulcan.
Yeah.
And I would argue Vulcan should be down here in the bottom too.
Yeah, I'd put him at C probably.
Yeah, I mean he does pop up and he is kind of important in the War of the Beast. But then he disappears again. So yeah, I'd put him in C.
Yeah.
Kind of tempted to put. Well, okay. Okay, some of these are going to be tough. Like, for instance, Alfarius. Alfarius is going to be tough just simply because it seems like he put together more than has been shown at this point.
Yeah,
So,
I'm currently reading his Primarch book, and it seems like one of the weird things about his character is, according to his reference, he almost creates his own, ironically, secret police that does one of the things that we mentioned before, that's a hazard when it came to conquering with the lion, was you just conquer and then move on,
mm-hmm,
which would leave um, discouraging influences and people with grudges and stuff. And one of the things about Alpha Legion is they'd have people that are implanted on those planets. And so when it first started to rise up,
mm-hmm,
they're like, okay, we are going to now execute, plan B and wipe out wherever the problem is.
right.
Kind of interesting in that fact.
But, I mean, yeah, but still at the same time, I mean, so how much would you think he really has affected at this point?
Um, it
I mean, he doesn't affect it. I mean, at this point, anyways, as far as
hard
we know, anyways, that's documented, he hasn't affected anything past the Horus Heresy, right?
that we're aware of.
Right.
That'd be correct.
Okay. So,
Well, yeah, other than when uh, Gilliman tried to go after, supposedly, but probably didn't kill off one of them that he showed up there too. But yeah,
all right. So, people that are important, I guess, after the Horus Heresy at this point, anyways, that will make some contribution, anyways, after the Horus Heresy. I'm thinking, anyways, obviously Gilliman, right?
yeah,
Um, so pretty much Gilliman, the Lion's kind of making an influence at this point, anyways, in the 42nd millennium, and then, um, I mean, quite frankly, Fulgrim could be moved up here at some point, but as at this moment in time, anyways, he still kind of hasn't really done much. Uh, Same with Purdy. Well, okay, Perturabo though he wasn't he helping find the keys at one
yeah.
point?
That's what he's doing at the moment, and he also was able to affect things when it came to what's the demi god, chaos god, is basically created from, oh, what's his name? He's basically um Hephaestus for the
Hephaestus?
chaos gods. Yeah, Hephaestus.
You mean Vulcan?
Hephaestus. No. For the chaos gods.
Oh, you're talking about the demon print, the demon dude,
Yeah, the
Vashtor. Vashtor.
Vector, yeah. He lent resources to him to attack Caliban, I think. Yeah. And so he's been
Yeah,
spreading out his sphere of influence as well, trying to get the key and stuff.
right. So, yeah, okay. So who else are we going to be putting in the C class then? Like, kind of
Um,
just to piss people off, I kind of want to put Sanguinius in there. I mean, he really after he dies during the heresy. I mean,
yeah.
yes, he was a badass fighting anyway, all those the demons and whatnot, and holding the gate. But other than that, he dies, and he was loved by all. I Then again, anyway, okay, so
Um,
Sanguinius is probably gonna have to go in the B tier. I'm thinking, and I'll explain why here in a minute. But
where would you put Kurz?
Kurz I'd put in the B. I'd put him in the B too, anyways. Maybe you know what, the Khan. Let's put the con down and see.
Okay.
I mean, has he really affected anything? He disappears during the Great Scouring. During the Horus Heresy, he's not really super involved with it. He does show up anyways with his White Scars to help at the Siege of Terra, but, I mean, part of his story is that he just kind of keeps away from everything until he can figure out what he wants to do. And then he helps at the Siege of Terra. So what do you think? Put him down and C?
Yeah.
Like I said, this isn't a we like them or don't like them. This is who's the most influential and for the Imperium. So a B anyways. So I would put Sanguinius in B. We might move him up to C or A, but I mean he did run the Imperium Secundus too. That was the other thing I was just thinking of. He did run the Imperium Secundus. And then there is the whole concept that perhaps before he died, he thrusted his spear into Horus's armor, and that was the one chink in his armor that the Emperor was able to obliterate him through. Yeah. So,
where would you put Magnus? The guy who was trying to do everything right, but did everything the wrong way.
Hang on, we're getting some feedback actually from our channel. They're saying we're too quiet. So let me just adjust the audio.
Does this help?
No, that didn't help. That redlined it. So we'll move it down there. Hopefully, anyways, yeah. I just adjusted your volume too. So we should be good.
Okay.
Hello, Hermes. Thank you for joining us. Just popped up. Him, Sacrona's here too. I wonder if Andarchy's back. If he is, welcome. Once again, anyways, this is kind of our 2-year anniversary. We figured we would do the most influential Primarchs. That's how we're ranking these guys. So you're probably, if you just showed up, you're looking at this and you're like, what the hell is going on with this list? This is literally, anyways, who has influenced the Imperium the most. So at this moment in time, anyways, we're kind of discussing where we would put Sanguinius. Because everybody loves Sanguinius other than us two. So,
well, actually, I was wondering where we were going to put Magnus.
Oh, Magnus?
What?
Magnus? Okay, so if
he's
Magnus,
the one who wanted to do right, but did it the wrong way.
Right. Quite frankly, anyways, Magnus, he's got to go in either B or A, because if Magnus never enters the Golden Throne to warn him about Horus, then the Emperor would never have been. The Emperor wouldn't have been stuck sidelined during the Horus Heresy, which would have drastically changed the heresy. The Emperor would have been able to get up and actually do something, which would have definitely changed it. So he is very important about that. Not only that, but he keeps popping up. He keeps coming up with these great plans, and they keep getting destroyed by those pesky wolves. Or he's just going and trying to thump the wolves, in which case sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So I would probably put Magnus in A. I know, Hermes, you think anyways the Lion should be S. He's not. He's not going to be. You could just stop now. Like I said, the most influential in the Imperium. It's definitely not the Lion, not the reclusiest Lion that that kind of let everybody do their own thing and he just went out and conquered. It's not going to be him.
Right. So we're putting Magnus in, or we put him in B or A?
Well, okay. You get the final call on that one.
I'd put him in A.
A? Magnus? Okay.
Yeah. Because it wasn't just that he sidelined him. It's like every single step he took, like he went to talk to Horus in the Chaos Realm and saying you shouldn't be focused on the Chaos Realm. It's
which ironically actually pushed Horus more towards chaos. So yeah, every
Exactly.
time he tries to do something right, it ends up going horribly wrong. So, um,
Who
but
needs enemies when you have friends like these?
uh, along with the beats here, anyways, I would probably put. Honestly, I would probably put the lion and the nightmare both in there.
Okay.
The lion because he kind of gets like we were just mentioning, anyways. He kind of gets sidelined in the Horus Heresy, and then he sleeps for about 10,000 years, and he's
Right.
popping back up, and he hasn't really done anything like extraordinary in the 42nd millennium other than defeat Angron. But Angron's coming back, so you know. Um, the only the quintessential thing he did for the Imperium though is that he became the War Master for the Imperium Secundus, and on top of that, he's also the one that figured out in that part of the realm of the Milky Way system that the Emperor was still alive, which shifted um, Gilliman and Sanguinius's thought of instead of building a new empire, trying to save the old one. So that's why I think, anyways, he should be. That's why I think he's more important than, like, for instance, Angron, who just kind of, mollywopped everything that he came across too.
Right.
Um, oops, where is he? There he is. Um, okay. Oh, and the nightmare, quite frankly, because he ruined everything. you know. Okay, what do you think? Nightmare in B or C?
Nightmare. I'd probably put him in B. I'd probably put Chorus Corax in C though.
The Raven.
Yeah.
Well, I do like the story where he chases Lorgar behind that big door. it's still one of my favorite stories.
But once again, we're talking about influence, not
Right,
how much we like the person
right,
or how
right,
well
right.
they fight.
Okay, so and I will go ahead and say, anyways, let's go ahead and put in C. We'll put Alfarius too,
Okay.
because I don't think he really changed much as far as we know. That's the whole thing, though. As far as we know.
Yeah, as far as we know.
Yeah. Which
Some
leaves
say
us.
that he purposely did things and purposely didn't do things that affected things significantly. But
So before we start to get into A, and then honestly, I think we can only plug one into S, which is going to get difficult. But where would you put Lehman Russ on this list?
um
He could have been far more influential if he'd actually finished off Wars,
oh
but he
yeah.
didn't.
I would put him in B or C.
Yeah. Why would you put him
I
in B?
actually leaning more towards C than B,
Yeah, same
actually.
here. And B, I mean, C wise, anyway. Like I said, okay, I'm a little, you know, I like, I like Lehman Russ. He's my favorite Primarch, but I mean, quite frankly, anyways, he's got the same problem the Lion does, anyways, where a lot of the stuff that takes place during the Great Crusade, it's just not talked about. And then during the Horus Heresy, his two biggest events. Well, I mean, he does he he does break Magnus's back and burns Prospero to the ground. So that is kind of important because it gets Magnus anyways on the followers of Chaos. But quite frankly, if you're looking at him anyways, along with the rest of these guys on this list, I wouldn't. I don't think he's as influential. I would. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I'd put him in C.
Have him with the rest of the triumvirate.
But the Triumvirate.
Yeah. Salamanders, wolves, and Elf Legion.
There, oh yeah, there you
All
go.
three part of
Right, right.
that the triumvirate, I believe is what it's called. Or it's called the Triarch, one or the other.
Okay, so I figure, anyways, we should probably put Dorn and Perturabo in A.
Okay. Yeah, Perturabo, because not only has
He
he
laid Perturabo because he laid siege to Terra, and Dorn because
If
he defended Terra.
some would say that if he had had enough time, Perturabo would have taken Terra.
Well, not only that,
It's
but
just
he was sidelined by Horus. He was
yeah,
doing a
that's
half
the
bad
thing. He ended
job,
up
and then
being
Horus sidelined
sidelined.
him. Yeah, he said, "Go get Angron." It's like, thanks. Okay, so we've got a few. Um,
Horus, I'd put an A.
Magnus before he got tricked into infecting his sons, or before that. What? So Hermes, anyways, has got a question or comment here. He says, Magnus before he got tricked into infecting his sons, or before that. What? An A tier or whatever tier? I think Magnus
Well,
is, quite frankly, one of the more important characters to the Imperium, especially during the Horus Heresy. But there can only be one S. That's the
um,
thing. And now we're down to the
plus
last three guys.
technically, weren't they already infected with something? And his deal was to supposedly stop it from occurring.
So, I don't know what Hermes is talking about here, but there's kind of two events that take place. There is, so what is it? The changing, I think that's what they called it. And all the
Yeah,
Thousand Sons were starting to get infected by that. And instead of destroying the Legion, the
the Emperor
Emperor
froze
started
them, right?
putting them in stasis until they found Magnus. And then he started
And then
teaching
Magnus
Magnus how to use
made
the
the deal.
warp. He actually ended up convening with Zinch,
Then
even though he didn't know it was Zinch. And Zinch tricked him into giving up one of his eyes. That's why he only had one eye. And he ended up saving, I say that in quotation marks, saving his sons. So there's that aspect of it, but then there's the other aspect of after he teleported out of Prospero, Oromon really kind of ruins the Thousand Sons. If you recall right, that's where you end up getting the Rubicon warriors and the guys who weren't attuned to the warp as much as the others turned into just like the soulless ceramite armor. They look
yeah.
really cool, but once you kill one of them, it's just like poof, they kind of dust out. So I don't know which one he's talking about.
Well, plus, let's see, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, he did end up killing a couple of perpetuals, I think, actually.
Who? Perpetuals.
Magnus. Or he almost killed Malkador. And then one of the perpetuals basically gave their life force over to him, and so that person ended up dying.
I don't remember that.
Because there was that conversation that Malkador came up to him and said, hey, if you sacrifice your legion, we can give you a whole new legion and you can join back with us.
Right. He disappeared.
And then he said no when he tried to vaporize basically Malkador.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. When he said you can come back to the fold, we just have to kill all of your sons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll even give you a new legion.
That didn't go over well.
Yeah.
So another thing Hermes says, he says, I think it's important to state at what point you're rating the Primarchs. So like I said, this is a ranking of who's been the most influential, I mean, in total, throughout history of the Imperium. So like, for instance, there's a reason why Horus is up here. It's not just because of what he did in the Horus Heresy, but how that affected the Imperium for the rest of the Imperium. Some of these guys, it's harder than others. Like, for instance, I mean, Perturabo and Dorn, both of them anyways, we have them up high up enough up anyways because depending on what happened with them anyways would have determined what happened with the Imperium during the Horus Heresy. I mean,
Well, that plus Perturabo's still around also,
right.
still spreading influence.
Yeah. And if I recall right, anyways, he along with like Lorgar, anyways, no, Lorgar at this point, anyways, I think is the only Chaos Primarch left, anyways, that his whole legion has kind of stayed intact, right?
Well,
The rest have
maybe half of it has.
the rest have kind of splintered into war bands, if I recall right, including even the Iron Warriors.
Well, with
But
the word bearers, it was basically shattered in two to begin with. After the whole, he got beat soundly by Horus, and then Horus said, "You gotta leave. If you come back, I'll kill you." And so Lugar took the people that are still loyal with him, and the other ones followed Horus.
right, so but okay, so
No.
here's the thing: we are down to our last three guys, and I don't think anybody can really argue that these three are probably the most influential to the Imperium, in anyways, when it comes to the Primarchs. We've got Lorgar, Horus, and Rabute Gilliman. Oh, hey, Anarchy, and thank you for the happy anniversary thing. He made it back. So,
Yeah.
um, yes, okay, Hermes. You see, Hermes is still pushing that the lion should be farther up on the list. Um, because he won the Rangdan
And he
genocide.
wasn't the sole person who won the Rangdan genocide.
And the Cagademus, anyways, from what we've looked up, anyways, that was the Black Templar. That had nothing to do with the lion. That was during the time of the Howling, which I believe was in the, what was it, 35th millennium? We just
Um,
talked about it a couple of times, actually. It kept
yeah,
coming
I know.
up.
We just talked about this recently too.
But, so the real question, anyways, is who's going to end up being in this A tier? And you know what? I could say, anyways, because just over the Imperium as a total, we could go ahead and put Perturabo and Dorn, anyways, down in B. Because other than the Siege of Terra, they don't really affect a whole lot after that. Well, okay, there's also the Iron Cage, but in comparison to these last four guys, I mean, Magnus should be, I think, on A, but then we've also got these three guys, and two of them are going to go into A.
Okay.
And one's going to go into S. So the question of the day, Yuksen, who goes where?
I put Gilman at S and the other two at A.
Okay, why?
Because Gilliman, not only did he, like, for example, create the Codex, but also he's basically in charge of the Imperium right now.
Right. Okay, we can talk about that.
So
But okay, we both.
influence is kind of up there right now.
Okay, so we can both agree, anyways, because I disagree who we put in S. I think Lorgar should be an S, and the other two should be an A. But we both agree then that Horus should be an A, right?
Yes.
Okay, which is kind of weird when you think about it, because the most important thing in the history of the Imperium is the Horus Heresy. So,
Well, see, part of what pops in my mind though is I would put him lower than Lorgar either way. The reason why I say that is because Lorgar started the Horus Heresy, and he had the most wonderful underling ever, Erebus, who
everybody's favorite.
corrupted not only Horus but other people as well. So,
Okay, so it really comes down, anyways. Who is it, Lorgar or Erebus?
no. Is it Lorgar or Gilliman? Is what you mean, right?
Or yeah.
Yes, Erebus should be in the S because he's everywhere infecting everything. But we're talking about Primarchs, not Space Marines.
Right. Well, okay, so here's the thing, anyways. Horus Heresy never takes place if Lorgar isn't there. It's that simple.
Right.
He's the one that affects the whole thing, and he also, not only that, but this is the other important part, anyways. Is he's also the one that that started the ecclesiarchy. So the whole concept that everybody worships the god, the emperor as a god, that's also Lorgar. So the entire corruption and slow decay of the Imperium as we know it, anyways, is Lorgar. Now, yes, Gilliman, anyways, has popped back up, anyways, and he's trying to right the ship, but he hasn't righted it yet. I would definitely change this, anyways, to Gilliman being at the very top if he had righted the ship. He hasn't yet, though. So still, Lorgar reigns supreme because of all the decisions that he's made. That's my argument behind it. Hermes, by the way, has said, anyways, so Magnus destroys the Emperor's webway and he is an A tier? Yes. Because he didn't quite completely and utterly destroy it. The way we mentioned it, anyways, is that the thing that really, one of the main reasons why he is an A tier is quite frankly because if he hadn't actually destroyed the Golden Throne or ripped it asunder, anyways, then the Emperor would have been part of the Horus Heresy, which would have drastically changed things, and who knows, anyways, what would have taken place.
Or if he had ever actually been able to get to the Emperor when he decided that he wanted to kill the Emperor.
Right.
He failed at, well, he was stopped by Vulcan, but, you know.
So, okay, so there's a question, so Andarchy says Gilliman is the man these days and was also after the heresy. He also says Lorgar was the most influence on the Imperium, hands down. Then Hermes says, is the ranking of greatness based on strength, influence, or overall good? It's this
well,
one
if it
is
was
based
overall
on...
good, then I would
Lorgar.
say
He'd be much more
Lorgar, Magnus, and Horus would be more towards the bottom.
Gilliman would be up at the top.
Best would probably be Gilliman or Vulcan, because Vulcan actually likes people in general.
We're looking at the mainly overall is just simply the influence. So you could, I mean, a lot. By the way, these guys up here, anyways, that we were talking about, anyways, that are like in the A tier, and then whoever's going to be in the S tier, you could make the argument for pretty much all these guys to be in the S tier at this point. I think. I mean, like you were just saying, Hermes. Anyways, I mean, Magnus did rip open the Webway project that the Emperor was working on, and if he hadn't have done that, I mean, who knows what the Imperium of Man would be now. But then again, anyways, who knows is an interesting question, because if we did know where they would have been, but that never happened, then yes, that would be, you know, you could definitely critique that, but at the same time, it never did happen. So we don't know. Who knows? Maybe someone else would have kicked over, you know, a bucket, and it would have broken, you know, kicked a bucket of water onto the Golden Throne and it shorted out. You know, who knows, kind of thing. It's that hyperbole of, or not hyperbole, but it's that aspect of what did happen or what could happen. So,
yeah.
But like I said, any one of these guys in the A tier, you could definitely argue to be in the S tier. But quite frankly, anyways, I do think, anyways, it really does come down to, it's got to be either Gilliman or Lorgar if you're going to put him in the S tier. So, and like I said, anyways, the most influential and the one that has affected the Imperium of Man the most at this point, anyways, in my opinion, it's got to be Lorgar.
Okay, I mean, like at this point, yes.
At this point.
The way things are going, though,
in another
more and more
years,
it's heading towards Gilliman.
Yeah, well, there is a rumor that Lorgar has entered the Materium once again and has started a crusade for the Chaos Gods. So,
it doesn't make sense, but okay.
It's, yeah, he might be coming back. That's the thought process. Apparently, he built up enough courage to get peek open that door, and I guess the Raven went off for a snack or something, so he got out and he's back. That's the rumor. But yeah, I would probably, yeah. So we're gonna go.
I wonder what Lorgar actually looks like now.
The way it's described is that he's described as a golden god. Like he glows gold. He's got the, you know, all the lettering anyways across his bald head. Although I do like the picture that's on this anyways of him just looking like completely and utterly insane. Yeah. Yeah. So there's you guys' list of what we think of. Obviously, um, like this. Anarchy says Lorgar barely wins till Korax with the steel chair. That would be great. He's like making this great speech in front of his legions, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this giant bird comes up with a steel chair. Bam!
Yeah.
Right across the back. Yeah. So for those of you, anyways, this is our thought process of kind of how the Primarchs influenced the Imperium of Man. We've got the very bottom, Ferrus Manus, who died too soon. Angron, Mortarion, and then the C. Quite frankly, C classes. We could have done this in Most of those guys in the C class didn't really affect anybody either.
Well, there's the problem with Alfarius and Omegon is the fact that there isn't enough actual data. And like I said, there's some cases where it's like it seems like they decide to do things and to not do certain things that helped influence the situation.
And once again, to remind everybody that's watching this has nothing to do on who is the better soldier, warrior, or fighter, or who we even like best. This is just who we think is the most influential to the Imperium of Man. So yes, Hermes, I understand. Lorgar would get thumped by the line. Quite frankly, any one of these Primarchs would thump Lorgar. It's very well documented that Lorgar wasn't a very good fighter at all.
In comparison to the others, anyways.
Any of them. He'd probably be able to barely contend with a Custode. So, I mean, we understand that. But influentially, anyways, he is the guy, anyways, that started the whole Horus Heresy and the destruction of the Imperium itself. He also is the guy that started the Ecclesiarchy, which is kind of ironic. So he did kind of end up winning at the end. He gets chastised by the Emperor. He's like, I'm not a god. And he's like, oh, yeah, well, we'll still make you one.
Okay, so we actually answered this during a prior one, but who would thump the lion? There were a couple of different people that we
you just want to irritate Hermes now, don't you? Okay, we run through this.
I think it depends. How many times would they fight? Because I think the Khan would be able to beat him once, maybe twice.
You're thinking of kind of like you're thinking of kind of like a Loken thing, anyways, with Garvel Loken and Lucius the Eternal.
Yeah,
Garvel
the only reason why I say that is because
I gotcha.
The Khan people don't know how he fights nearly as well, and he purposely learned about all of the other ones and what their weaknesses are.
All right, well, here, let's pull the page back up here real quick. So everybody, this is what we think. Okay, we'll just move everybody down here. Who could beat... Oops, wrong guy. Who could beat the lion? Okay. So you're thinking the Khan once could beat the lion.
The Khan, we have found out through history that Russ and the lion were basically equal.
Right.
Well,
the way, if I recall right, anyways, is that Lehman was a little bit stronger than... So the wolf was a little bit stronger than the lion, but the lion was faster than the wolf.
Yeah.
So they kind of cancel each other out a little bit. Okay, let's go ahead and throw them up there. These are the guys, anyways, that... Whoa! Oh, I got scared. Okay. So everybody, anyways, underneath B here, anyways, I don't think has a chance. Put Magnus there. And
you mean Vulcan?
No, this is Magnus, the purple guy in B. So anybody C's and D's, anyways, yeah, none of them could really touch him. Okay, well, we're not counting Horus either because he's dead. So, I mean, during the Horus Heresy, once he gets pumped full of chaos juice, Horus went toe to toe with the Emperor. So at that point, yeah, I could see him beating the Lion. I mean, if you're gonna make the argument anyways of who could win, yeah, if Horus, like I said, if Horus is pumped up on the chaos juice like he was during the siege of Terra, yes, he could beat the Lion. If you can fight the God Emperor to a standstill, you can beat his sons. That's kind of my thought process, right?
Right.
So, but he's dead. So we're not going to put him on the face. You know what? And we're also going to say the same thing anyways with, well, okay. So every person, there's, the huge fan base for Sanguinius anyways is that he couldn't be beaten by anybody. So
that's...
Go ahead.
But he doesn't face... Okay, here's the thing. There's only one Primarch that he's even recorded technically facing off against that I'm aware of. No, sorry, two. Okay. One of them is Kurz.
Right.
Who didn't beat. It was a tie.
But that wasn't much of a duel either. They both had like...
And then the other case was Angron when he was a demon Primarch, right?
I believe he beats him anyways at the Siege of Terra, and he
sorry,
really beats him.
3. Then he gets thumped by Horus.
But he'd been fighting for 3 days, and he was tired, and that's always the argument. It's the way it kind of works. Oh, and Andarchy, though, he's putting one more guy in the mix. Sure, let's go ahead and throw him in there. Why not? Why? Because we can. Mr. Dorn. Andarchy says Dorn is undefeated in Primarch battles. Which I believe is true. He, let's see. Well, he killed either Alpharius or Magon. I don't know.
Maybe.
One of them. He killed one of them.
Maybe.
Okay, we both came to the conclusion when we did Alpha Legion anyways. We agreed that one of them is dead. Guilliman did not kill the other guy. We both agreed on that. So one of them is dead. Dorn killed him. And then for Colorado,
here's where another problem comes into place, though. How would
that's
the
not
twin
true.
Primarchs
Dorn did
fight
lose a
together?
Battle. Although, yeah, he lost to Kurz. Now, depending on who you talk to, anyways, it's either anyways that Kurz snuck up behind him and hit him over the head with a shillelagh, or the way that I've always read it and kind of translated it is that Dorn went to go. So this is when this goes all the way back to the Great Crusade, and Conrad Kurz confides in. He's slowly going insane, and he confides in, of all people, Fulgrim. That he can see, anyways, the deaths of all of his brothers. And Fulgrim does what he always does and stirs the pot and tells, of all people, about this Rogal Dorn. Rogal Dorn then goes to confront Kurz in his room, and no one, anyways, knows what really takes place. All we do know is that when they find them, Kurz of Arakarai, anyways, is on the ground weeping. His brother is Dorn is unconscious and bloodied, and all of his and then when Kurz escapes later on, he kills all of his Dorn's guards. So he does get beat by Kurz, I would say.
Yeah.
Oh, we got another. Okay. So Hermes goes, "Where's Corvus?" I don't think Corvus could beat the Lion.
He's only I can only remember him fighting one Primarch, and yes, he won that one. Well, he would have won that one.
Technically, he does fight Kurz for a bit, but then he escapes.
No, I'm talking about who he would have won against, which was Lorgar. until he's stopped
Well, no,
by
he was
Kurt.
stopped by Kurz, and then he fights Kurz for a little bit, but then he escapes. So he never actually finishes that one. He you know what? Now to think about it, anyways, when he was getting chased around, anyways, on S15, I think it's the point, anyways, where he's about to have to fight Angron, and then he ends up getting saved by a bunch of Stormbirds. So I don't think he actually fights Angron in that. I know tactically, anyways, in a game of like Warhammer 40k chess, he beats Gilliman. What shocked Gilliman. I always found that story kind of interesting, but uh, I don't think he was good enough to beat the line. He was a very good duelist, but from what I gathered, anyways, he was a very good duelist. But I don't think he could beat the
Oh,
lion.
so here's the aspect of wondering is now that he's become mutated by the warp, how do you think he would
Oh,
fare?
that's a good point. At this point, I don't know. Not only that, but remember we've got old man lion now. He's got a beard to prove it. I don't know. If he could still beat Angron the way that he did, then yeah, the lion is still, I think, anyways, quite the duelist. I don't know. Korax is just at this point. If he comes out of the warp, who knows what he's gonna be. I mean, I've got some pretty cool pictures that of him, anyways, that make him look like like a giant, like freaking crow, dude. That look
Kind of
awesome,
reminds
but
me of a chaos version of a Kenku.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. He's even got teeth.
that's really the best
Um,
imagery for people. He's turned
fair
into
enough,
a
Hermes.
Kenku.
Fair enough. Hermes says, yes, but he ages like fine wine. Fair enough, fair enough. I honestly, I think I like the look, anyways, of the lion better with a beard. But as you can see, anyways, I'm a little one-sided on that. But yeah, quite frankly, anyways, so the reason why I put not Korvax, the Nightmare up there is because he fought the lion a couple of times. He does eventually get beat by the lion, so I would say then no. I do like the first time they ended up fighting. It just ended up the Nightmare pretty much wins by strangling the lion. What? And the only reason, anyways, that he gets away is that one of his buddies ends up stabbing the Nightmare in the back. But
Yeah.
so you're thinking the Khan once. We're thinking Lehman Russ. That's just kind of a fight to stand still.
I think
We always argue,
Vulcan
anyways,
was
about Vulcan because
that would just be a war of attrition.
okay, if you're fighting to the death, then yes, I can see, anyways, the argument there. But if you're just fighting to see who wins, I don't think Vulcan's even in comparison with the rest of these guys on A.
Um, so here's a question: why is Magnus B? Why would you put him in the maybe?
Same reason as I put Perturabo on there, anyways, is that they wouldn't fight fair.
No, yeah. Well, he did have that spell that could vaporize somebody.
That's the thing is Magnus would use warp tomfoolery, and it wouldn't if you couldn't evolve any psychic powers of the warp, then yeah, there wouldn't even be a contest. I don't think the lion would just mop the floor with him. But if you're able to use warp tomfoolery, which Magnus would, makes it a whole lot more difficult battle. Um,
And he's grown quite a bit too.
right.
He's huge now.
I mean, if it was back in the day, anyways, I'd still say the lion could take him because, like we said, anyways, he's comparable with Lehman Russ. And Lehman Russ beat the crap out of Magnus.
Yeah.
He WWE broke his back across his knee. It was awesome. But, yeah. So, but yeah, with Vulcan, anyways, I don't think Vulcan could compete even with those guys on the A spot if it was just a duel. Now, if it was a fight to the death, then yeah, he's going to beat all of them because he's a perpetual. He can't die.
Well, I don't know how well he. See, he's another person that they don't show many fights against anybody else. The only one that really was against Magnus, and that was like,
He beats.
yeah, it was.
Well, no, and the Nightmare.
Oh yeah, he technically beat the Nightmare though.
Kind
He
of.
got caught, and then he beats him with his hammer, and then goes
That's one
bye.
of my favorite things. He's like, I took your teleporter away from you. Yes, but you still forgot one important thing. What? It's a hammer. Boom! And proceeds to beat him within an inch of his life with a hammer.
Yeah,
So, and and Turabo, quite frankly, anyways, the way that he fights is just bizarre.
ironically, despite his looks, he is very methodical.
Yeah, I mean, he beats Angron anyways by I think he only like strikes him twice. Angron like charges him anyways to try to take him out. I think during the siege of Terra, and Perturabo knew that he was coming, so he had everything set up. I mean, he had like artillery like blast him. He was into oblivion until he gets close enough, and all of his shielding and everything is gone, and then he just hits him with a hammer. And he goes,
Yeah.
go back to the ship. And Angron's like, fine. He goes off and pouts. So if you're just talking straight up duel, I don't know. There's a lot to be said anyways about a strategy anyways on how you're gonna fight somebody. But then again, there's that good old saying by Mike Tyson anyways, is that everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. So
And one person, of course, puts down that Fulgrim was undefeated. Mm.
Fulgrim is undefeated in Primarch battles except for Dorn, but he got born left. Well, that's what he says. I don't know how much of that is true. I know, anyways. He's like, this is
Plus,
my time. Toodaloo, and then he slithered off. But I just, yeah. Fulgrim, at this point, anyways, he's like an ADHD kid, anyways. I think he would start doing the line and then just get disinterested and wander off. I mean, like, oh, look, a light, and toodaloo, you know. I mean, quite frankly, I think, anyways, one of the reasons why Fulgrim's not on this list of who could beat the Lion is I'm not a big fan of Fulgrim. Now, okay, so hang on half a second. Fulgrim beat Gilliman. And now as a demon Primarch anyways, has he actually fought any of the other Primarchs? I know he fought Dorn in Siege of Terra, and he technically lost that one. Like you said, though, he kind of got bored. But
the only thing I can think of right off the hand that came with
Hermes
combat when
asked, how do
he
they
came
fare
back.
against Valdor? Is in Constantine Valdor? Doesn't Alfarius beat Constantine?
Okay, so
Without
from the
power
only thing
armor?
that I've read, Alfarius fights Constantine, and this is what ends up happening. They both end up being on this roof, and they fight to roughly a standstill. They're about to continue fighting, and Malcador interrupts it. But there's two noble factors. One is that the spear that Alferis is wielding is something they had picked up a couple hours ago from from a different custode, which he killed with a knife. And then Constantine Veldor was in his full suit, powered up suit and everything.
And he still beats him, doesn't he?
And so they're at a standstill. They're about to go back at it, and then Melchior interrupts
him.
it.
Okay. Hermes also says, I'm pretty sure Fulgrim was slain many times in the bedroom. So, Followed by
And we have
and Arky
no
saying
idea
by
how
Ferris.
well, no idea how well Alferis and Omegon fight together because they're never seen fighting together. Because
uh, I think I think of Alfarius more of a strategist than I do of a duelist. Of course, then again, I think the same thing about Dorn. Dorn, anyways, I always think more of as a tactician, but I mean, on the slide, Dorn's actually a pretty good duelist. I know a lot of people.
yeah,
I still remember, anyways, that one guy when we actually ranked. We did this. This is the very first one we actually ever did on rankings. We ranked, anyways, who we thought the best fighters were, and we got so many people. We got so much hate, anyways, from two different types of people. The people, anyways, that thought we should have ranked at the top. Sanguinius. Sanguinius is the best. How dare you, anyways, say something bad against the angel? Those guys. I didn't even really realize we're out there until we started doing this. And before then, anyways, I'd actually done a poll every week of who do you think would win in a fight. And silly me, I put in Sanguinius, I think, the first week, and he didn't lose. And we got all the way to the very end, and then the very last one, I said, who do you think will win in a fight? Sanguinius or the Emperor of Mankind? And a quarter of the people answered Sanguinius. There's a lot wrong with those people. But anyways. So those people complained, and then we had people
Dorn.
Actually, Dorn,
Yeah.
that was the other one. People are like, you should go back and do a little bit more research because and they were right. I mean, on the slide, Dorn is really actually a pretty decent duelist. It's just normally overshadowed by his strength
what he
and
normally
tactics and fortresses and stuff like that. It's very much like even more so even like Perd Rabo. That's also why I put him up there in B anyways, is that he is on the sly, he's actually pretty good anyways when it comes to getting into a scrap. Now, I still wholeheartedly agree though anyways on who do I think would win, the Lion or Dorn. I'm probably going to go with the Lion. The Lion was known as just like, I mean, he was just known as like the greatest warrior. So very few anyways are even talked about in the same sentences anyways, and on how good he was anyways with fighting. I mean, like you said anyways, Lehman Russ, Sanguinius, and then and then you always argue Vulcan because you can't kill Vulcan. Vulcan can't kill Vulcan. Nothing can kill Vulcan. So
he just disappears for a while and then randomly comes back.
So, I mean, yeah. So if you're gonna say, anyways, who could thump the Lion? I mean, quite frankly, anyways, your best bet, anyways, is probably Lehman Russ. I would honestly, anyways, put Lehman Russ ahead of the Lion, anyways, when it comes to duelists. But that's just me because the Wolf's my favorite Primarch. But it's a coin toss. They fought for what, like 24 hours, and neither one of them could actually get it.
I don't know, longer than that. Well, it's debatable. Some say 24 hours. Some say like 3 days.
3 days. Yeah. But so, I mean, it is what it is. And by the way, all this is up to subjection, anyways. I mean, the Lion, ironically, anyways, other than Kurz, did the Lion? I can't remember the Lion actually dueling anybody else. I know that
he briefly fought with Gilliman. Briefly.
When?
Oh. Can't remember specifically what the situation is, but he got his sword broken by Gilliman.
I know
because
Gilliman broke his sword, which what the Lion wasn't too happy about. Surprised he didn't go nuts there. But no, the only guy I can really think of anyways was Kurz. I know, I mean, it's mentioned anyways, like for instance, Horus anyways pushed the reason why he had Kurz go off anyways to try to stop the Lion was because he knew anyways he couldn't have the Lion show up on Terra because he would wreck things. Now, so
apparently,
what Hermes saying?
Lehman Russ would be drunk, so he wouldn't be able to win against the Lion. Okay.
Well, this is also from Hermes. Hermes is it's going to be the argument the same way both ways. Hermes is a fan of the lion. I'm a fan of the wolf. And
Anarchy says Russ, Kurz, and Angron. Are those the three people I assume that he's fought that there's records of? I assume this way.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, the lion. Yeah, well, the lion actually was in the 42nd millennium. Yeah, we actually that was part of the vox when we did on the lion. Yeah, I talked about that. And then and we actually just talked about Kurz or Russ, but that was that really that was more of like a boxing match or a wrestling competition. I don't think they were actually swinging swords. Combat. They were using their hands, weren't they?
Yeah.
So the 3 line duels, right? Yeah. And Angron is not beatable. Well, okay. Yeah, Angron's in the same position anyways as Vulcan when we're talking about it. So, like for instance, the lion beat Angron. He's going to be back in 8 weeks, 8 days, and 8 hours or whatever time frame because he can't die. Well, actually, that's not true. Gilliman could kill him because he has the Emperor's sword. The Emperor's sword can kill anything. That's the way it's said.
Part of me wants to say, there is a non-Primarch that could also kill him.
What?
Keldor Drago.
Oh, jeez. I don't know about that. He'd have to be able to beat him. Angron's a tough cookie. But, no, yeah, so apparently the Emperor's sword, anyways, can actually dead demons. I mean, like, kill them outright. They just no longer exist. So...
Could the sword that Cypher has, could that also kill him?
That's the lion's sword, if I recall right. Anyways, that's the rumor at least. And yes, that's another one of those blades that is can kill anything. There's a few of those weapons around. There's the other one, anyways, that John Grammaticus had. It was a dagger. It was made out of anathema or something like that.
Which it doesn't exist anymore, at least.
Did it shatter?
I think so.
It's the material essence.
He used it to cure Vulcan's madness. Please how it went.
What's the? Yeah, it cured Vulcan's madness. Yeah.
And then it broke or something like that.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys, anyways, who are here for being here. Anarchy says one of the Phoenix Lords has a sword that can kill demons. Oh, well, there you go. So the Eldari apparently have a couple weapons too. It doesn't shock me, anyways, that there are weapons out there that can kill demons like completely. They're just very few and far between.
Yeah.
Like I said, the Imperium, the only 2 that I can think of is out of there. Go. The only few, anyways, that I know of, anyways, is like I said, anyways, is like the Emperor's sword, and then whatever sword, anyways, Cypher has, it's considered one of the more dangerous ones. I'm assuming Vulcan made a few, like hammers or something like that.
You find out once he comes back. I have all of these for you people.
Like literally he hands one to like
maybe we will actually be able to win against the demons now.
I don't know.
Really?
So yeah. But okay, so we should probably wrap this up anyways. Thank you all anyways for who are here, for being here. Thank you, like I said anyways at the beginning of this, Vox, thank you for you guys who've been around for pretty much the whole 2 years. Actually, since you guys are both here, Anarchy and Hermes, when did you guys start listening to us? I was saying anyways, I thought I was around when we started talking about the Ultramarines, which was about 1.5 years ago. That was a while back. Our very first one that we ever did anyways was the Necrons, and then we did Space Wolves, and ever since then anyways, we just kind of kept going through things. Hopefully, I'm hoping anyways we'll eventually go back to the Necrons. They were actually they're a lot more interesting than I thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
When we did them. But before we hang up, anyways, what or this upcoming year, anyways, what are you looking forward to the most, there, Yuksen? Anything in particular, not like just the subject, but something that you want to at least cover a little bit of.
I think it'd be interesting if we covered a little bit of the Soul Drinkers.
The Soul Drinkers? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which ones? The originals or
Which I think their genes somebody was throwing out there that they aren't part of the Iron Fists. I mean Imperial Fists.
Oh wow, okay, so
I think part of the way it's played out that I've seen information from, it almost seems like it could be a cover up of them saying, yeah, they weren't connected to it. That way there won't be any, investigation on the Imperial Fists, and therefore every single second, third, fourth founding of them.
Mm-hmm. So Andarchy, by the way, said anyways that he started listening when we were talking about the Blackstone Stone Fortresses or the Black Crusades. So that was around like when we did our very first long box, Cadia Stands. So that was a while ago.
Yeah.
That was a good one to start on too.
That was little over. That was the last week, I believe, of December.
Our first December that we rolled through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, guys, it's been fun. Don't forget, anyways. Also, let me take a look at my calendar so I can actually give you the right date. So, like I said at the beginning of this, for those, anyways, who watched the live stream, sorry the audio was so crap. We are releasing, anyways, when I'm done here. I'm gonna actually upload the video where I actually pretty much we cut out some of the stuff in it, and then we scrubbed the audio. I scrubbed the audio as best I could. It's still got some redlining and it's got some echoes to it, but the audio is a lot better on it. So if you haven't watched the live stream, please enjoy the edited version. And we will be doing the second sequence of Bilko's Brigade on Monday, the 26th of May. So hopefully we can see you guys then. That's probably the next time that we will be actually live streaming, but coming this Wednesday, and then next Saturday, anyways, we will be releasing videos on our next subject, which is, ironically, the Word Bearers. So on Wednesday and Saturday, we will be discussing Lorgar, who is going to get a rather large vox. We're going to split it up in two on YouTube because, like we just mentioned today, anyways, he's very influential with the Imperium. So we figured, anyways, he should get his due diligence. And quite frankly, the more we talk about Lorgar, the less we have to talk about the rest of his chapter. So,
well, no, unfortunately not.
The week after that, we're going to try to determine who is actually the worst, Erebus or Corferon. I mean, personally,
does that really need?
Personally, my money's on Erebus, but I've done a little bit more research on Corferon. If Erebus wasn't there, you would think that he was the worst. But then there's Erebus. So,
and then there's the person who basically helped create the entire Horus Heresy.
Right. All right, guys. Well, that's it for us tonight, anyways. Adieu, and we'll talk to you guys next time.